I'm sure that you know that getting personal on your podcast really creates deeper connections, but in this episode, I'm really going to dive into why exactly that is and kind of just the psychology behind it. Welcome to the Podcast Café, where we're serving up everything you need to know about podcasting, from tips, stories, and strategies for podcasters from podcasters. I'm your host, Hayleigh Hayhurst, the founder of Espresso Podcast Production, a full-service podcast agency helping business owners, creatives, and thought leaders launch and grow their shows. Whether you're just starting out or want to take your podcast to the next level, this is the place for you. Each week, we'll dive into practical tips, actionable strategies, and of course, stories from other podcasters so that you can build up a podcast that you love and that works for your business. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started. Welcome to the Podcast Cafe. Hey friends, and welcome back to the Podcast Cafe. This is one of my Espresso Shot episodes. Quick 10-minute or less episodes that are packed with a punch, really just about podcast strategy. And today we're talking all about why you need to get personal with your podcast audience and how it truly is the fastest way to build trust and loyalty. So here's the thing. People might come to your podcast for information, but ultimately they are sticking around for you. And if they don't feel like they know you, they're way less likely to stick around, right? Doesn't that just make sense? Because humans want human connection. They just want to connect with your content. They just don't want to connect with content. They want to connect with you because you're the one creating the content. Sharing a piece of your own journey, the struggles, the wins, the, oh my God, I can't believe I did this and here's what you can learn from it. Can't believe that happened. Those moments are what makes you relatable and makes your audience feel like they want to know you more and that they trust you, that you are just a person, but a person that they can connect with that is the expert, right? I mean, we are living in a world of AI and people are desiring so much more human connection than ever before. And your podcast is a great way to get that across. This could come through, not just the stories, but also your personality. I want you to really think about that when you're recording. Trust is what drives loyalty. Trust is what drives people recommending other of their friends to come and listen to your podcast. And trust is what drives people to come and work with you. So how personal should you get? I know this is like a question that I get a lot is like, is this podcast about me? I mean, it's about podcasting, but like, is this podcast about podcasting about me? And to a point, yes. But there is a sweet spot. You don't have to share everything. Like, you guys will never know all the details of my life because I do reserve that for myself, right? But you will hear I started my business when I was pretty young. So like the struggles of like coming up, growing a business, learning it all myself. I actually, if you're on my email list, I'm sharing a story, I think next week, about the first time I ever launched a podcast for a client. Oh my God, it literally it's so funny thinking back because she trusted me and it was amazing. And I had it happen, it all worked out. But I never told her that it was my first time launching a podcast for someone else because I was like, I will figure it out as I go. It took me 3 tries and I was sweating. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I've launched a podcast for myself before. I know how to do it, but doing it for someone else was a gut-wrenching feeling. So that's a story I'll share with you guys because it's funny, it's relevant, it's something that you guys can connect with me on, right? I'm sure when you started your podcast, you probably had that same moment. Or if you haven't started a podcast yet, when you started your Instagram account or your LinkedIn or posted for the first time or spoke in front of your audience for a first time, on a stage, you had that moment of do I know what I'm doing? Right? And it doesn't ever go smoothly at first. Now I have it down to a science. It's truly the bread and butter of my business. But thinking back, that was pretty funny. But we love the trust that, we all need people to trust us when we're first getting started. So Truly amazing. So that's just like a funny story there. But like, that's how personal you should get. It's like, you don't have to share everything, but that's an on topic personal story that makes sense. So when you're thinking of what stories you could share, ask yourself, will this help my audience learn something or feel something? Is this the kind of thing I'd share with a client or a friend? And if the answer is yes, it's definitely worth sharing. I mean, you can get as personal as you want, but you don't have to. That's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Tomorrow's episode, I'm actually speaking with one of my clients, Jennifer Coffey. She is, you might have heard her before. You might have seen her on your TV. She was a host for QVC. She shares how on QVC, like, she shared points of her life, but not everything. And so when she started her podcast, she was like, I really want to hear about everything. I want to share everything. I think that is truly an amazing example. So tune in tomorrow for her story. But that's how personal you can get. And so I also want to share 4 ways that you can add personal touches in your podcast. I'm going to go through them and then I'll break them down. The first one is start with a personal hook. The second one is use that you and me language. The third one is be real about the messy parts. And then the fourth one is bring in personal references. So let's break these down. These are just easy ways to, like, if you're nervous about how much you want to share, this is how you can get started. So number 1, personal hooks. Open your episodes up with a quick story or an update. I wouldn't go too deep into this, and maybe like pad it with some context, like do your intro and then you're like, okay, quick life update, blah, blah, blah. Or do you want to hear what happened in my life this week? Or here's a crazy business story that happened, you know, like something like that. That would definitely add some personal touches there. Make it quick though, because I hate to say no one really cares about like the line that you were in at the grocery store that took 8 hours or whatever. So keep it quick, but it's a good way to start sharing personal stories. The second one is use that you and me language. So when you're thinking about solo episodes, just like I am now, like I'm speaking to you. I don't know who you are listening exactly, but actually come and message me who you are. I'd love to know. But like I'm speaking to you, and this makes it a conversation, not a lecture. The third way is be real about those messy parts. So honestly, your audience learns more from your imperfect moments than the perfect ones. I could tell you about like the first time I launched a client's podcast perfectly, but you hearing about how the first time I launched a client's podcast and it was like, took me 3 tries and I was sweating bullets, that is one that you'll probably learn from more, because I can go over like those mistakes I was making, and then you can not make those mistakes yourself. And then another easy way to add in some personal touches to your podcast is like bring in references. So if you listen to the podcast Feminine as Fuck by Monica Yates, she has a dog named Jelly that she always talks about in her podcast episodes. Like Jelly is a guest, right? And so that's a good way to explain or like build that connection of like who you are. Talk about your pets. You could talk about your hobbies, right? Like I have a friend named Karina. She was on my other podcast, Employee to Boss, and she summits mountains. She is a badass. And that's something that she really talks about in her podcasts a lot, is the hobbies that she has. Another one you could talk about is like your favorite podcast or your favorite coffee shops, your favorite weekend pastime. Let's say you love sailing, you could talk about that, like something that really will connect you with the audience and make you memorable, because the details, no matter how small they are, do make you memorable. Like remember when I was running a marathon in May that I can't shut up about? Like that's something that I was talking a lot about, and that was something that I was connecting with you guys on, because that was something I was really going through in my life. Okay, so this is all about how to get personal in your podcast. Again, remember tomorrow's episode with Jennifer Coffey will get way more into this, but I wanted to give you a little highlight of why you should be getting personal. No one wants to come and listen to a lecture or something that's very bland and very like stale. They're listening to you. Even if they're coming to learn, they're coming to you to learn because they like you and want to connect with you. So the more personal you get, the more powerful your connections become. Okay, well, that's it for today's episode. Go share more about yourself with your audience, and I'll catch you next week.